So I did talk about this on the podcast already, but I've been able to sit with it for a couple more days now, and the videos have more outreach than the podcast does. So I figure, why not dive into this on the main channel thing? So basically a whole bunch of burner accounts that are probably connected to the Colangelos, who take up the president of basketball operations, the general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers, and these accounts are disclosing insider information about Philadelphia, as well as weirdly defending Jerry Colangelo and Brian Colangelo in terms of like making us wanting us to believe that ridiculous collars that go up to his ears actually look good, and that he's like a good-looking dude, and really weird stuff. But then there's also some things about like Jahlil Okafor and Embiid and Fultz and Ben Simmons, and there's a lot of Sam Hinkie slander because, I mean, it's kind of come out that whichever Colangelo is actually the one in question, whether it's Jerry or Brian, I don't totally know, but they're kind of insecure, they're kind of combative, and, you know, they don't really love the Sam Hinkie praise. So what does this all mean? Okay, and I think the biggest thing that I want to focus on is mainly like Philadelphia on the floor, on the basketball floor, right? Because Philadelphia is in a prime position to acquire a star player this offseason with all the cap space that they have, and, you know, just where Simmons and Embiid are at and where they are projected to be as players, and the fact that this roster right now accommodates those two really well with some multi-position defenders who can also shoot in the case of Dario Saric and Robert Covington, and Redick's not as good of a defender, but you get it, and whether he's on the team moving forward or not, who knows. But this team's in a good spot, right? And they could have potentially been in a trade situation for Kawhi Leonard if that situation with him and the Spurs just really snowballed into something bad, and who really knows right now. Paul George's free agency, and I mean, hell, even a guy like Trevor Ariza, who knows if he would even want to come to this team right now, given everything that's going on. I think in a perfect world, what happens is Philadelphia's ownership decides to get rid of the Colangelos, bring in some new front office people. As far as how drastic of a change that would have to be, I don't know. I mean, would you have to fire the entire front office and bring in a whole new regime? I don't really know, but whatever it may be, you would hope that that would just be enough for the players around the league to be like, okay, that's cool, we trust what you guys are doing, and we're okay with like signing with you or whatever. I don't know if that's the case. In fact, I'll say now, I don't think that's the case, all right? I think any player who has Philadelphia on their radar is going to have to do a lot of thinking, and they're going to have to get some reassurance and then some from all the powers that be in the Philadelphia 76ers organization that their personal information and whatever else is not going to be leaked somewhere. They have to know that the people that are deciding whether these players should be playing more minutes, if they should be traded, if they should be released or whatever, that they are not like malicious people, right, who are going to go behind your back. And I don't know, it's such a can of worms that I don't think it's as simple as just going, hey, the bad people are gone, we're okay now. I think it's only amplified by the Markelle Fultz situation. The fact that there was a lot of blaming going on between Fultz's trainer and the people within the organization who run like player development and all that. I mean, Philadelphia's in not a good position probably in terms of just trust, and trust is huge with these players. I mean, you look at JJ Redick right now, right? I'm going to assume that there's going to be teams that are going to want him this offseason, and probably good teams, because Redick, you know, we've seen that he can have a place on a good team. If you're deciding between that and this organization that's all the way up in the air right now, that's going to sway your opinion, you know? I think LeBron, if that was ever going to really happen, this puts a dent in that as well, because it's like, you don't want even more drama. I mean, wherever LeBron decides to go, there's going to be stuff happening, and Windhorst will be right in the middle of all of it. And then if you just threw all of this into there as well, that's some interesting stuff, right? So, how does Philadelphia go about this? You just have to make it known that you had no connections with this. This was all under your nose, and you do not have malicious feelings towards your players, your coaches, and everybody in the organization, right? But you have to actually convince the players of this, and who the hell knows if you're going to be able to do that. The other thing is, the way they go about dealing with this is going to be interesting, because right now they're running an investigation under the Colangelos, right? If you take too long with a potential organization, or investigation, I should say, that's going to hurt you as well. Because the longer this gets drawn out, the more players are going to think, well, what the hell? Like, you're actually still giving these guys a chance? Like, you're actually still leaving, like, a foot in the door for these guys? It's not good, man. Could be a real problem for the Sixers. Now, do I think it would avalanche into Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons wanting out? I mean, probably not. I have to assume that the organization, the owners, and the Colangelos, at least the main one in question here, he has spoken with Embiid and Simmons and all them, so he's doing what he can right now, but who knows how that's going to play out. But the other thing that's interesting, I mean, there are many things that are interesting here, but one thing I am thinking about is just how much energy is this going to take from Philly? I mean, what do you do if you're in a situation where your general manager, the guy who runs what you do as a team, is just under this big investigation and as a result isn't totally able to make basketball decisions for you because all of his time is put into this, you know? I mean, I know that the decisions are not made by one person. You have an entire team, but you can't be like 50-50 on this stuff. You got to be all in on being able to make basketball moves and decisions, and if you got all this going on as well, that's a problem. I mean, the Lakers, and this is the exact thing I quoted in the podcast as well, the whole thing about like who really runs the team that dominated them for a couple years, there's no way that positively affected the product on the floor, you know? So, not good. Not good at all. Also, then it's so interesting because if the Colangelos are out, then you have to go about finding new people in order to run your front office, and that can be difficult. Now, maybe it'd be a good thing, because you could argue that since Sam Hinkie was kicked out, the Sixers haven't exactly done a lot of good things. I mean, there, of course, was the Fultz and Tatum trade, which I don't know if you can blame them totally for that, because who the hell saw this coming with Markelle Fultz? I mean, this is like a 1 in a million situation with him, but still, it doesn't look good, you know? Especially because the reason why this team is so good right now is because of Sam Hinkie. He was the reason they have Embiid and Simmons and Covington and all that stuff, which is not going to help fan perception, who didn't already love the Colangelos anyway. So, it's really just a giant can of WTF that it's possible that Philadelphia can come out of this relatively unscathed. I mean, there could be a huge lawsuit that follows this between the Colangelos and the Sixers, or the Colangelos and the NBA, which could be a really drawn-out process, but it's possible that could be kind of behind the scenes almost, just because that may be between them and the Sixers, but the actual like new front office, if it were to come to that, could still focus on basketball stuff. Or if it becomes the Colangelos in the NBA, then the Sixers, they'd probably still be involved, but once again, they could still do like basketball stuff. So it's possible that it comes to that, but it's not going to help Philadelphia nonetheless. So many interesting things to do with this, and probably things that I haven't even totally thought of or mentioned or whatever. It's crazy stuff, you know? And then you add in the conspiracy that it could be like Sam Hinkie who planted a bomb that is now going off. That's next level stuff. It's probably not true, but what a story nonetheless, you know? I don't know if I have anything else to add. So Yeah.